is your host, Brian Miller.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of the Star Wars Canon podcast. I am your host, Brian Miller, and welcome to our very first live show for the Star Wars Canon podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, and to talk about this stuff with us, with you and I, actually, we've got, once again, the very lovely, the very talented, the very beautiful Kirsty Clements. How are you tonight, babe?
Not too bad, like I always say. Go ahead and kiss my ass some more because you know how much I love that.
Oh, yeah, I know. Happy wife, happy life, everybody. Remember that, guys. Hey, guys, we have got a lot to talk about tonight. And before we get started, I was going to let you guys know that we originally recorded this podcast, Thursday night?
Yep.
To release today. And then because of certain news dropping, we decided to go ahead and completely delete that version of the podcast, and we decided to do it live tonight to actually talk about some of the stuff that has come out since we recorded. Ordered some new equipment, just got it in the mail today. Kirsty's mic, that's the only reason we can go live right now is because of you getting your mic. So yeah. But here we are. We're here to talk Star Wars. So before we get into all this, I want to let you guys know, first off, we are available on Spotify and iTunes now. And the Google Play Store. That's new. So definitely go check us out there. Give us a favor to follow, whatever there is there. And I'm letting you guys know, those of you who have listened to the Star Wars Canon podcast for any amount of time know that we have a certain format here. We'll get to some mailbag questions here in a little bit from some viewers and some listeners. But at the end of this stream, if you guys are watching live right here on YouTube, we're going to be taking some of your live questions at the end of the show. So make sure to be dropping those into the chat board. We'll be checking that out here very soon. So before we get into the news and stuff, we got to do the housekeeping stuff as always, like we always do. And I kind of already covered a lot of it with the Spotify and the iTunes. But StarWarsCanonLibrary.com is going to be closing down here very soon. We're going to be transferring everything to StarWarsCanonPodcast.com. It's a lot easier to use. It's focused more around the podcast than the podcast being focused around the website. And to be honest, it's cheaper for me and Kirsty. So it works out better for everybody. The only thing that sucks is we're going to be losing the gallery page. But other than that, I mean, you got to cut some fat somewhere. But yeah, we've got a lot going on here. And you know, we've got the sound system kind of worked out now. Oh, yeah.
It's definitely cleaner, clearer.
Yeah. I mean, wait until I get you a set of headphones. Then you can actually hear what I'm hearing right now.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine.
But we've also got some things in the work. We got a couple of our friends that are interested in being on the show.
That'll definitely be a lot more fun to bounce
it will be a lot of fun because Adam and Eric are actually really cool people. And I ran into Adam the other day at Walmart. I was going in. I don't even remember what I was there. I was getting popped for work or something. But I ran into him and I said something to him about wanting to be on the show. And he said him and Eric are actually interested in doing that. And Eric does read some of the new canon, so a lot of the new canon really. So it'd be really fun to get them in here. And I'm gonna have to drop some money and buy some more mics and some more equipment, but it'll be worth it, right? So without further ado, what do you say we get into this, babe? We've got a little bit to talk about here. And you know, when we recorded this the other day, we didn't have a whole lot to talk about.
No.
We had filler stories talking about action figures.
Yes, we did.
Which now I can delete out of here because we had other stuff to talk about. So, babe, I know you are a huge fan of Mandalorians.
So big.
So big. Sabine is you. You are Sabine.
Absolutely. 100%. That is me.
When I first told you, because a lot of the stuff you know about Star Wars and the expanded canon, other than the movies, you get from me. Yeah. From reading everything and watching everything. When I first told you that there was going to be a live-action Star Wars show and it was focused around Mandalorians, what was your first thought?
Oh, I don't think it was a thought. I think it was more of like a really loud squeal. Which I won't repeat here because it might mess up our new and improved sound equipment. So
you'll bust my ears out over here.
Yeah, but definitely something that I am very, very highly looking forward to, guys. Like absolutely 100%. When it comes to Star Wars, Mandalorians, that's where it's at.
That's where it's at.
That's where I'm at. that's where it's at.
I'm not gonna lie. I started to get Mandalorian fatigue there for a while
Yeah.
during Rebels. I really did, because they were really focusing on it quite a bit, and I was just like, ugh, come on. There's more to Star Wars than just the freaking Mandalorians. But we talked about the show The Mandalorian the other day when we were recording, and we didn't know a whole lot about it then. And now, since we recorded that, we've got more set photos. We've got an actual photo of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And we've got a director's list. I mean, we've got all kinds of stuff about this show. Because I tagged you in the photo of The Mandalorian on Facebook, and you hadn't seen it yet. I know you were already excited for The Mandalorian.
I have seen it now.
I know, but did the picture like hype you up even more than what it already was?
Oh God, yeah, because it is so different from what Sabine's armor looked like or even what Fett looked like, or what Jango Fett looked like, or any of the other like main favorite characters that we know about that are Mandalorian and wear that classic armor like that. So I mean, not only that, but it has the classic like Republic era type feel in the helmet. Yeah. Which gives me all kinds of vibes, because I'm like, oh my God, this is so like going back, to like the beginning of it, and everything. And I don't know, I feel like that's more of like an elegant style to the helmet and the mask and everything, which kind of opens it up and like gives you more of like what the character is going to feel like. I don't know. For me, I just get that kind of feel from it. And then the color and the way that the armor shields the body and the gloves and the knee and all the way down the shins, the whole 9 yards with this suit, just totally. I hope it gets trashed throughout the whole series. It's already trashed in the set photos. But the helmet is very glossy. It's very clean, very new. But I'm hoping that if this show gets many more seasons, right? Yeah. I'm hoping by the time we get to seasons 4 or 5, he's still got damage from the previous seasons on it. That's the only way you can do it. Yeah, and slowly just weather this thing down to, to where it's just battle worn and damaged in. Like that to follow a character through all that stuff too, and then to later and later on season and later seasons to see certain like gashes across it and where it came from. Yeah. It's stuff like that where you've been through all this stuff with these characters. Yeah, you grow with the character. You grow, and that's exactly what happened with Ahsoka in Clone Wars. People grew with it, because I hated Ahsoka when she first started, but this is a show that I think people are really going to grow with this character. And I know a lot of people, that first photo came out and a lot of people were going, holy crap, this thing looks freaking awesome. Because Nick Albers, he's a follower of the Canon library. I know he was kind of on the fence a little bit about the show, and then that picture came out and he's like, you got me. I'm on board. Yeah, I want this. I think that's the trigger for everybody, and everybody's like, oh, yeah. Seeing that Mandalorian in that setting, because it looks like used, worn down Star Wars Galaxy, like what the classic trilogy had been, and I mean, if you look at some of the armor pieces, there's different armor from different troopers throughout all the films and stuff. Like, there's even a shore trooper piece of armor on him, I think on his shoulder from Rogue One, stuff like that. Like, it's absolutely awesome. But not only did we get the picture of the Mandalorian, of the title character, but we also got a director list, which included and I can never remember his name, but the director from Thor Ragnarok, and then we've also got directors like Dave Filoni is going to be directing the first pilot episode. The pilot episode, which will be his first ever live action directing debut. Yeah, which is going to be definitely something new and adventurous and different for him, which I'm absolutely thrilled to see that aspect of his creative side, because me too. Obviously, I mean, we've only ever seen his animation, directing side. So I mean, there's a lot more I feel like there's a lot more that goes into it when you're directing an animated style, because you actually have to work with the character, you have to work with the voice actor, you have to work with all these other components to build it into one, to show who that character is. Now with the live action, you basically say, here, you're physically there. Yeah. So either you can do it or you can't. So I mean, Dave Filoni's got it though. Oh yeah, no, I'm ecstatic about this. Oh yeah. And we've also got Bryce Dallas Howard going to be directing an episode or two. That one really surprised me. Well, I didn't know until today her father is Ron Howard. I didn't know that. When you told me that, I didn't know that either. I never put those two and two together, which it doesn't surprise me, but at the same time it does. But it's kind of cool because, her father just directed Solo. Yeah. And now she gets to direct a couple of episodes of the first ever live action Star Wars TV show. Yeah. So it's kind of cool that father and daughter kind of have something in common there.
But so far, they haven't done anything with this show that I'm not excited about.
I don't see that there's any way you couldn't be excited.
I don't
for
either.
it.
The time period it's taking place in, after the fall of the Empire, before the rise of the First Order, stuff like that, like, that's the time period a lot of people want covered, you know? And this show's going to be debuting just a few months before Episode 9 comes out. I think it's going to be the start of the kickoff of, let's cover that era, because I think once Episode 9 comes out, they're going to cover that time period a lot. I think Episode 9 is going to cover a lot. I think Thrawn has a lot to do with it. I really
You've
do
been
think
saying that for a while
I truly, honestly believe that. So, but yeah, I think once Episode 9 comes out, we're gonna get a lot. Because hell, even Timothy Zahn said he's writing 2 more Thrawn novels.
Yeah.
But he can't even talk about them or even start on them until after Episode 9 comes out.
He just knows that he's doing it. He doesn't even know what kind of story he's gonna write there.
Well, he did come out and say that the first one is going to be Thrawn and Ezra's. Oh, you don't know? Damn it! We have got to get you to watch season 4 of Rebels, guys. Kirsty has not seen it yet. I did say that we're gonna have to go find it. I'm gonna have to find it somehow because you've got to.
We cannot. Yeah, everywhere we've looked, guys,
I can't find it anywhere.
Not find
on DVD. I can't find it anywhere.
Not
I know it's out.
Blu-ray or DVD. It's been out for how long now?
A month, something.
Yeah.
Like, but everything's shy of ordering it online. I'm gonna have to order it online.
I think so.
So I'll order it tonight, and then I guess we'll watch it next weekend after, and we'll do it before we record this podcast. We won't watch the whole series. Well, we might be able to fit in the whole season Friday night.
I'll just start binge watching what we got up there on the shelf.
Yeah, I would do that. I would do that. Actually, you know what? Honestly, if you're gonna do that with Rebels, all you have to I just looked at the elapsed time on the stream and it said 1138. So
always.
Always, for some reason, every time I look at the clock, it says 1138. But no, if you're gonna do that, just start with the season 2 finale on. Okay. Watch the season 2 finale and then season 3, and then you'll be ready to go for season 4.
I don't know if I can do that because I'm so in love with all of those characters.
I know, they're so good. You know, it's absolutely great. Hey, we just so you guys know, we've got the Mr. Pete channel is halfway to the big time. He's watching right now. He's saying, "Hey, how's it going? Hi there. How's it going, brother?" Anyway, we're gonna have to get you to watch Rebels, but the first of the new Thrawn novels that's going to be coming out after Episode 9 is Ezra and Thrawn's story. Just roll with it. You'll know what I'm talking about once you finish season 4. You'll know what I'm talking about. I don't know how this hasn't been spoiled for you yet. I have no idea how you stay away from Star Wars spoilers.
I know, I'm silently crying inside because I'm so scared of what this could possibly be.
Look, it's there's certain things that happen in Rebels that made me cry. In the last season, there's stuff that you're going to bawl your eyes out when you see it. You're going to. It's not a kid show. This last season's not for kids. That's all I'm going to say. It's darker than hell. But and if they're willing to do that with an animated show, think of what The Mandalorian is going to be like. This live action Mandalorian, this lone gunslinger out beyond the support of out beyond the edge of the New Republic. That's going to be insanely awesome.
Dude,
it's going to be great.
Dude, I just got all of a sudden my favorite aspect of Star Wars, but all of a sudden kind of like Firefly vibes.
It's possible. Something along, because I know you're a brown coat.
Totally.
I know you're a total brown coat. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. To be
that
completely,
would be cool.
That would be very, very cool.
Let's stay out on the outer rim and bounce planet to planet and just do what we need to do to survive, because it's the end of the Empire and trying to figure out life at this point.
It's gonna be awesome, dude, because it's gonna be an entirely new galaxy too.
Yeah,
everybody's gonna be learning how to live in the galaxy again with no Empire.
Yeah, because
this is after the Battle of Jakku. This is after the actual fall of the Empire. That was the end of the Empire. Yeah, so it's gonna be after the Battle of Jakku. It's gonna be an entirely new galaxy, a galaxy that 2 generations have no idea how to live in, out from underneath Imperial control. And there's going to be aspects of the galaxy that's all they know, and they want the Imperial control back. Yeah. That's going to happen. I mean, look at the world we live in today.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Republicans and Democrats in America. One group of people wants it one way, the other group wants it the other way. And it even though, and I'm not going to say which is which, I'm not going to get real political, but even though one side, could be seen as quote unquote evil, that they still want to live with it. You know what I mean? Like it's weird, the kind of mentality. If that's all you know, that's what you want. Even if it's under somebody's thumb.
Yeah, because you get what's the word I'm looking for?
Accustomed, acclimated,
accustomed. Yeah, you just get used to it, complacent.
Right.
So.
But yeah, and you know, to see a lone gunslinger like that out on the fringes of the galaxy, because there's a lot of things you could really throw into the series, but
all I need is for a long brown coat to be thrown on his shoulders now over that Mandalorian armor.
That'd be sick. Actually, that would be really sick. Really, because they'd kind of have that kind of Cad Bane-esque feel to it, which would be really cool. But yeah, Jon Favreau's live-action show has officially been titled The Mandalorian. I'm stupid excited for it. We still got a year until this thing comes out.
I'm dying.
We have a year, man.
I'm dying.
This is gonna, God, and we don't even get a Star Wars movie between now and then to hold us over.
I'm already dead.
I know. it's hurting so bad. But anyway, that was the main thing that we were going to be talking about tonight. What do you guys think? Let us know in the live chat. Let us know in a comment below. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, let us know on an email to StarWarsCanonLibrary@gmail.com. What do you guys think of the new series, The Mandalorian? How do you think it's shaping up? How do you think it looks? I think it looks fanatic. Absolutely fantastic. Fanatic. I'm fanatic that it looks fantastic. Yeah, so... but anyway, yeah, what do you guys think? Let us know. What do we have left on the docket over there as far as news? We got a couple other things we can talk about.
Another major thing that's come out is that Kathleen Kennedy with Lucasfilm has been extended through 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, is that anything that is going to change the slate for Star Wars? Because we already know that, crap, I'm having a brain fart. We said it the other week.
What?
Oh, God, I can't remember his name. Shame on me, guys. Oh, my God, I'm so bad.
Who?
The main guy over at Disney. That's
Bob Iger?
Yes, Bob Iger. Oh, my God. Major brain fart. It's past my bedtime. Let me say that, okay?
It is pretty late right now, yeah.
So, Bob Iger came forward and said they're going to slow down production and everything on some things. So, does this... The extension of her contract, does that even do anything for her other than just give her a title and a role, or like
I don't
just
know.
A position to fill, or
see, at this point,
is she even going to serve a purpose? You know.
So at this point, the only film we know exactly when it's coming out is Episode 9. That's the only thing we know for sure when it's coming out.
Yeah.
And that's December of next year. Her contract's through 2021. If they're slowing down the tone of the films and content that they're putting out, when are we getting these Benioff and Weiss series and this Rian Johnson trilogy? Because you know Rian Johnson is doing this thriller with Daniel Craig before he does his trilogy, before he kicks it off, which, love it or hate it, it's still happening. And Benioff and Weiss aren't starting theirs until after next year, when the last season of Game of Thrones is finished.
Yeah.
So by the time they get a film out, it's going to be 2021. It's going to be 2021 before we get another Star Wars movie, I think, after Episode 9. I'm willing to bet we're going to have a little 2-year wait there. Doesn't mean we're not going to get novels. Doesn't mean we're not going to get comic books. Doesn't mean we're not going to get TV shows. But I think as far as the films go, I think it's going to be... I think it's going to be a couple years. But here's the thing. Does this always happen? Is she going... 3 years by 3 years by 3 years, and it's just a big deal now because there's so many people calling for, her head on a platter,
right?
Her job, or is this, and it's just news because that's what people want, or is it something that's out of the norm? Because it's the same kind of thing like we were talking the other day with Rogue One and the reshoots. Everybody lost their minds because Rogue One had reshoots, but every movie has reshoots.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it have as many reshoots? Not necessarily, but they still have reshoots. So everybody lost their minds over this reshoot thing. It's one of those things where everything Lucasfilm does is studied under a microscope by every fan. Everything they do is scrutinized.
Oh God, yeah.
So is that what this is, or is it actually newsworthy? Is this a non-story, or is it actually something that matters?
I personally think that it's like a non-story. I don't think it matters either way, because no matter what we do here, we're fans. It's Star Wars. We're gonna give it a chance. We're gonna go out there and watch it, read it, view it, enjoy it.
Right.
We're going to do what we can to go out there and give it a chance because it's Star Wars. That's what we do.
Right.
We like it. We love it.
But you didn't answer my question. Do you think this is a non-story?
I said I think it's a non-story.
I'm
sure
sorry,
did.
I must have missed that.
Guys,
I was reading.
Hit him up in the comments. I told him it was a non-story.
Like you said, it's late. It's been a long day.
Amen.
And I was scrambling together trying to get this all put together and everything. So and we were a little late on getting it out, but that's all right. Whatever. But anyway, what do you guys think about Kathleen Kennedy being extended to 2021? Try to keep it civil. I know that's one of those. I know that's one of those subjects that a lot of people can argue back and forth about. Just that's all I ask. You know, and real quick, off topic. This channel, this is something that I've always tried to make it a place where people could come and tell their opinions, whether they agree or not, and do it respectfully. You know what I mean? And to make sure that everybody is civil. You know, because I don't care if you disagree with me. You know, I would rather talk to somebody who disagrees with me and have a civil conversation about it and debate than have somebody going, yep, I agree. Yep, I agree. No, you're right. What fun is that talking to somebody like that? You know what I mean?
That defeats the purpose of a debate.
It does. It's not even a debate at all. So, but anyway, what else do we have on the docket over there, dear?
At the New York Comic Con in 2018 this year, they released a feature slate including Alphabet Squadron by Alexander Freed.
Yeah.
So, I don't know a whole lot about that, so I will pass that.
I don't know a whole lot about it, to be honest.
You know more about it than I do.
This is, okay, so New York Comic Con is going on right now.
Yeah.
And they did this whole slate with new canon material that's coming out very soon. And they were talking a lot about the comics, that 24-issue one-shot series.
Yeah, the Age of.
Right, they were focusing a lot on that, showed a lot of cover art for a lot of those issues. They showed some cover art for, they showed the cover art for Master and Apprentice.
Uh-huh.
Claudia Gray's next novel coming out, which oh my god, I can't wait.
Anything by her, yeah.
But they also announced this new novel by Alexander Freed, who did Battlefront, the first Battlefront novel, and did the Rogue One novelization.
Okay.
And it's Alphabet Squadron. I know nothing about this. The only thing I know is that it's a squadron of 5 different starships from the Rebellion that go out and hunt down ex-Imperials. That's all I know. That's all I know about it.
Like former Imperials?
Yeah,
or like...
former Imperials.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're hunting them down to recruit them or hunting them down like a hit squad or what. I don't know.
Yeah, we were talking about it before we jumped on here, you know, to talk to you guys about this. And we were trying to figure out, does it mean that there's like, is there like a list alphabetically and that's why they're called the Alphabet Squadron? Or is there only 26 people that they're trying to hunt down and figure out, you know, recruit or take them out, or what the deal is? Like, there's just so many unlimited ways that they could go about this, and so it's just kind of like up in the air right now.
Right.
But I mean, we had Rogue Squadron for the Rebellion.
Right.
And I feel like there was another one, or am I having?
Oh, there were several different squadrons for because I mean, the Resistance had Cobalt Squadron. I mean,
yeah.
if you watch Rogue One, you see all these other different squadrons.
Yeah.
So they have several of them.
But I'm talking about like in novels and comics and stuff.
Oh, that they've touched
focused on.
Oh yeah, they've only done a couple.
Well, when they focus on it, they also have like certain stories and like certain aspects that they cover with these squadrons. Like they
right.
serve a sole purpose.
Right.
And what they're going out to go and do.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if like we had any other kind of speculation to what Alphabet Squadron would do. So
right.
With that being said, I mean, like, I don't know. You guys tell us. What do you think that they're gonna do? I mean, we come up with, is there 26 people that they're trying to go get? Is there like an alphabetical list? You know, is there an alphabetical list that they're trying to go and get of all these people, or is it? I mean, I don't know.
I know there's 5 different ships. And each one has a different. I know there's a B wing, a U wing, an X wing, an A wing, and I think a Y wing. Oh, that's why the Alphabet Squadron. We just figured it out.
That's why it's called the Alphabet Squadron, because they're made up of the different ships. That's why. That's why they're called Alphabet Squadron. That's exactly it.
God, we're idiots.
You guys.
It's been a long day, man. I can't put
this
crap together.
See, you didn't tell me that before. Otherwise, I would have known.
I know. Gosh, dang it. That drives me crazy. Okay, so I hate myself for getting that wrong. But no, I'm looking forward to this book. I'm not a huge fan of Alexander Freed's writing. The first Battlefront novel was a little slow, but I still appreciated it for what it was. But his Rogue One novelization was just a novelization of a film,
right?
So I'm willing to. I'm obviously going to give this a shot. I'm excited about it, but I don't know if I'm as excited about it as I am Master and Apprentice by Claudia
yeah.
Gray. I'm losing my freaking mind because the cover of that book is gorgeous. You being an artist, you're gonna love this cover.
Oh, I believe it.
It looks like a hand painted Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan back to back with their sabers out. Like it is absolutely gorgeous. You're gonna love it. But I cannot wait for that novel at all. But they focused a lot more on the one-shot comics also, because we just went and picked up the pull file tonight at the comic shop, and they were talking about it there also. And it's like, in case you guys don't know, it's 24 issues, and each one's going to be a one-shot covering different characters from different eras. So they showed the cover art for, you know, the Han, Leia, Vader, you know, Jango Fett, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul. And we were talking about these covers, because I'm not really a variant cover guy.
Yeah.
I'm more of a straight original cover, because if I got all the variants, we wouldn't have...
We'd be so broke.
We'd be house poor like crazy, yeah. And so I just get the main original cover, right? So he was showing me some of these, and, you know, like the Darth Maul cover is him swinging his saber, but he's got a blue saber coming in this way from one side and a green saber coming in from the other side. So it looks like he's fighting Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan off the shot of the cover. But he said, wouldn't it be awesome if all the covers, you could put them all together and make one massive collage across? Like if they did variants of those, I would get the variant issue to do the full collage, and I would frame them and put them around the wall of the room in here. It would be absolutely gorgeous if they did something like that, but I don't know that they're going to. But this series, it looks really cool. It looks really, really cool, especially one-shot comics. One-shot comics are really easy to get right. They're really easy because we've only got a few right now, and a couple of them are really messed up, like the 3PO and stuff like that. But I think we're gonna get some good stories in these, as long as they take place in a time period that makes sense for the character. You know,
they should.
And when I say time period, I don't mean Age of Rebellion. I mean, like for Leia, obviously it's gonna be in the Age of Rebellion. But if it takes place in certain points, you know, in that time period between episodes 4 and 6, it has to happen in there somewhere.
Oh yeah.
But as long as the story fits where they're putting it, and they don't try to convolute the stupid thing. You know what I mean? As long as it makes sense, I'm happy with it. And if they can do that 24 times out of 24, I'm sold.
I really don't see any way that they can go wrong with that, because they've already released all the different characters and the time periods, and which characters within what time periods that they're doing it in. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I don't see that there's any way that
they can mess it up.
No, there's no way you can screw that up, because you got to imagine what story hasn't been told. You being the librarian who's read all this stuff already,
right?
What story haven't they told that they couldn't tell in a single one shot?
Well, there's one story in particular that I'm praying to God they don't mess up and forget about in the Star Wars comic, and we're getting closer to it. And I talk about this story a lot because a lot of people ask me, what's one thing you'd love to see in the comics? And this is always my answer. Okay, if anybody who's listened for a while already knows what I'm going to say. They haven't touched on it yet. The Star Wars comic right now, the self-titled Star Wars comic, is between A New Hope and Empire. It's still there. It's still in between there. Mm-hmm. 55 issues in, we're still in between those two movies. The one thing I want to see, and it's been referred to in the films, when Han and Leia are arguing in the hallways of Hoth, and she's like, I thought you had decided to stay. And he says, well, the bounty hunter we ran into on Ord Mantell changed my mind. I want that story. I want to see them go to Ord Mantell. I want to see them run into a bounty hunter and make Han realize, oh, crap, I need to pay off Jabba the Hutt or I'm a dead man. And I want that bounty hunter to be Cad Bane.
Why Cad Bane?
Cad Bane is, you know, I used to be a huge Boba Fett fan. I still am. But but I'm getting to where I think he's overrated. Because he died by a blind guy swinging a stick. Died, quote unquote. We think he died. But he screamed like a little bitch on the way out. You know? So, Cad Bane, when he was first introduced in the Clone Wars, I lost my mind over him. Because he's a Duros. You know what Cad Bane looks like. But he's a suave kind of... His style is really, really cool. I'm going to have to show you the Cad Bane stuff in Clone Wars.
I've seen it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you'd watched the Cad Bane episodes.
I mean, I know.
Where he breaks into the Jedi Temple. And,
yeah, I know who Cad Bane is.
Okay, and Seth Green does the voice of his little companion robot. Okay, so I want it to be Cad Bane, because you never see Cad Bane anymore after Clone Wars.
No.
The only other time he's ever popped up was in the Darth Maul 5-issue run pre-Phantom Menace, and that was before Clone Wars, obviously. But he worked with Darth Maul and Aurra Sing and these other bounty hunters, right? So I want to see him pop up in the Classic Trilogy era sometime, and for him to actually get his mention in film that he existed. So when Han says, that bounty hunter we ran into, that's his mention. That's the mention of Cad Bane. And hell, you could even do the end of Cad Bane. Have Cad Bane go out. You know what I mean? Have it be the end of him, or have him run off, or however you decide to finish it, it would still work. You know, I mean, there's a possibility. That's all I'm saying. I want to see Cad Bane in the comic. I want to see him come face to face with Solo.
Okay, now that you say that, yeah, that would be pretty freaking cool.
I want to see it. Or, you know, it's probably going to end up being that Black Krishansen or whatever his name is, the big Wookiee bounty hunter from the Vader comic and the Afro comic. It's probably who it's going to end up being. But if they do that story, they better do that story. If they get the Star Wars comic to Empire and they don't do that story, I'm going to be rioting. I'm going to be pissed off because that is an opportunity that they are going to miss. You know what I mean? That's a story that has to be told.
There's a lot of times that I tell you just need to write these stories and just say, here.
Yeah, but they won't do that then.
So?
They can't do that because there's copyright laws, dear. There's a reason I have a C after Star Wars Canon Podcast. Anyway, what else we got on the docket over there for the news? I think that's it for news, isn't it?
For news, yeah. Next thing we got is that you finished reading the Solo novelization.
I did.
So you can give a little bit of a tidbit on how you felt about that.
A couple of weeks ago, we had a mailbag question, and somebody asked if I thought Solo, because if you go back and look at my review for The Last Jedi, I think I even did a video earlier this year called "Does The Last Jedi Work Better as a Novel than a Film?" Now, before we go into this, I liked Last Jedi. I really did I really did enjoy Last Jedi. I'm one of those people. Don't lynch me. Like I said, everybody can have a different opinion. You know, just get along civilly. That's all I ask. But anyway, I like Last Jedi. But after reading the novel, the expanded edition, it worked better as a novel. It really did because of the extra stuff they put in and everything like that. But with Solo, somebody asked me, and I was like halfway through it at the time, if I thought Solo worked better as a film or a novel. And at the time, I said film.
Yeah.
Now that I've finished the novel, it works better as a novel. It completely and utterly works better as a novel. The stuff they added into the novel that wasn't in the film is absolutely... It's a blast to read. You know, there's certain things like I know a lot of people I don't like the droid L337, but there's a lot of stuff in the novel that kind of it's her point of view going into the Falcon. After being downloaded. And one of the things you don't know, and this really isn't too much of a spoiler in the novel if you haven't read it, she was booting back up. She was starting to come back too when Lando ripped her Navicomputer out of her head. She wasn't fully dead yet.
Yeah, and it's actually a really sad read because Brian actually read it to me.
Because she was thinking, and she's like, oh, he's click. Nothing.
Yeah, like, all right, screw you too,
and
Lando.
the next thing she knows, the Falcon's talking to her, trying to coax her into... You need to become one with me,
tricked
you know?
Her.
Like, tricked her, yeah.
Jedi mind tricked her. The Falcon
Jedi mind tricked
L337.
But no, some of that stuff is really, really cool to read. But even her talking to the Falcon, and like I said, the Falcon talking to her. And there's even scenes after Lando takes off from Savareen.
Yeah.
Where he's kind of taking an inventory of the damage to his ship that he's going to bill Han and Beckett for, you know. And he's sitting in the cockpit, and L337 comes across the screen one more time as text talking to him, and it's just kind of cutting in and out. And then it's her final integration into the Falcon. Excellent scene. It's absolutely awesome to see Lando, because she even asks him at one point, is there any way to reverse this, to pull me out? And he's telling her, no, this is final, you know. And it's really gut-wrenching from Lando's point of view to see that.
Well, not only that, but when you read it to me, you also had stated that the Falcon even showed her images from the interior cameras.
Yeah, she could see
what
everywhere.
Her broken body looked like, and all of a sudden she had that realization, like, holy crap, yeah, you
I couldn't
guys
even
are
have
right.
saved myself.
There was nothing that could be done. Like, this is it.
Yeah. No, and I mean, it's not just the L337 stuff. You got a lot more on Kira. What happened with her over those 3 years? You actually find out how she got off of Corellia and ended up with Dryden Voss.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to ruin that for you, but it's insane. Like and it's just like a couple pages in the book that kind of flash back and talk about that. But it's absolutely awesome to read. And then and then of course, and I'm not going to ruin this at all. I'm not going to give anything away in this. But the final prologue of the book is after the movie ends. The final, I guess the epilogue, not prologue, the epilogue. The epilogue is after the film is over. It should have been in the movie. This scene should have been in the movie. And I wasn't a big fan of Solo at first. And now it's growing on me. Now that we have the Blu-ray, it's really I watch it all the time now. And the more I watch it, the more I'm like, oh hey, he's wearing his black vest at the end of the movie when he's doing his final game with Lando, you know, and stuff like. There's little stuff that keeps popping out where I'm like, oh, okay, no, this, and the movie is growing on me more and more.
Well, I'm glad. It's
not Empire good. It's not Rogue One good in my opinion, but it's higher than the prequels at this point, because it was in the middle of the prequels somewhere when it first came out. But
shame on you.
It's above the prequels. I know you loved it.
I loved it.
I know you love Solo. It's. We need to get your Solo outfit put together also.
I have it. I know where it's at.
You know where it is?
I dug it out the other day because we put my studio together finally.
Yeah, that's true. I need to get you, but I'm going to get you a belt and a blaster. I'm going to get you one.
We need to get that.
Yeah, we got to do that. But anyway, the novelization for Solo. If you didn't like the movie, read the book. Definitely pick up the book. I'm going to tell you the same thing I said about Last Jedi. If you didn't like the movie, at least give the damn book a shot. It's absolutely great.
Anytime that Brian has compared the movie to the book and he's read anything from it to me, the realization that we end up coming down to it on that comparison is that the books they all have it stated expanded edition.
Yeah, they started that with Last Jedi. Yeah.
So with that being said, anytime a book says expanded edition, expect there to be more than what the movie offered.
Right.
So if you feel like the movie lacked anything, as soon as that novelization comes out, go get it.
Give it a shot.
Read it.
Well, because there was even stuff in the Last Jedi novelization that wasn't in the film that should have been in the movie.
Yeah.
Like Luke's third lesson to Rey. You know,
yeah.
and stuff that was never in the movie. And I know that was a big problem with a lot of people saying they didn't even touch on the third lesson. It's in the book, you know? And now we've got like even the comic adaptations are adding more to the films. You know, I got the final issue of Last Jedi today, and they did their best to fix Luke's death in a lot of people's opinions. You see what's going on in his head as he's, you know, becoming one with the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. You can't put stuff like that in the film. You can't have his voiceover echoey in his head, you know what I mean? So it's something you've got to check out, the expanded editions of stuff, the extra scenes. You have to check stuff out like this out. Does it fix the movie? If you didn't like it, not necessarily, but it fixes the story the movie told.
Yeah.
You know, so definitely go pick up the novelization for Solo. You won't be disappointed. That book was, and I read it very, very quick.
Oh yeah, you did.
Absolutely great. I loved it.
Specifically speaking about the one thing that I was dying for Brian to get through Solo for was at the end of the movie, you see Kira talking with Maul, and the whole time I'm like,
spoiler alert.
Dude, what happened? Dude, why? Dude, where is this coming from? Like, how is this relationship here? Like, how did this relationship come to be? And because Maul is like my favorite one of my favorite big baddies, especially because it's Sam Witwer.
Sam Witwer, he's my main crush.
Like you just know when it's Sam Witwer's voice. You just know.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, dude, you need to hurry up and read this book. Hurry up and read this book. Hurry up and read this book. And as soon as you find out what happens, you gotta let me know. It's definitely well worth the read to get to that point, so that way you understand that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Well, it even says in the novel she had seen Maul once before, but he had his hood up. She never saw his face.
Yeah.
And then when he took his hood off in Solo, that's the first time she actually saw what he looked like. But they never call him by name in the novel.
No, that's
they
what she
never
said.
Call him by name. They just refer to him as an older Zabrak with a red and black face, horns, you know, wrinkles, scars, and robotic legs. That like they never. And then he activates his
which
lightsaber, which gives it away.
All the audience knows who.
But
they
never called him by name.
Yeah.
They never called him by name, which I think works because the novelizations are supposed to be set up to where you can skip the film, read the novel, and still get the story and move on in the timeline and keep going, you know. And I
vice
think
versa.
And I think it works that way, you know. And I think it works the way they did it with not giving the name away at all.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely great. But anyway, I think that pretty much does it for news.
For the news, yeah.
And the reviews. So we've got a couple of upcoming canon material pieces this coming week on October 10th. Make sure to check out your local comic book store for IDW's Star Wars Adventures number 15 and IDW's Star Wars Adventures Tales from Vader's Castle. We just picked up my pull file tonight for the last month and a half. And I haven't got to read Tales from Vader's Castle yet, but I've got the first issue of it.
Uh-huh.
I'm itching to see it because it's got Hera and
Kanan
and Chopper on the cover.
Oh, I didn't see it had Chopper.
Yeah, it's got Chopper in the background in the doorway, but it's Tales from Vader's Castle. And the guy at the comic book shop even told me they're spooky. They're spooky stories, so I'm excited to read that. You know, I'm very excited. So as soon as we next week, we should be able to talk more about that, about the Tales from Vader's Castle and the novelization for Last Jedi, or the comic adaptation of Last Jedi, stuff like that.
Is the Tales from Vader's Castle supposed to be a weekly throughout this month?
Supposed to be weekly, yes. So,
okay. So that kind of fits in with the whole, like, you know, it's October, spooky,
yeah.
Halloween, so...
Well, they're focusing a lot, all of a sudden, on Mustafar and Vader's Castle and a lot of the mediums, because, well, I guess mainly in comics, but we got the trailer for the VR thing.
Yeah, that's
Vader
true.
Immortal on Vader's Castle. We've got the IDW comics that's Vader's Castle, and in the new Vader run, he's told the Emperor, "I want my castle on Mustafar," and the Emperor's like, "Mustafar? Why?" You know, like.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
It makes
to all of
sense,
us,
you know.
yeah.
So they're really focusing a lot more on this Vader's Castle thing all of a sudden, and it excites me.
Yeah.
I'm really, really excited to see why they're building up to this, because I can't help but wonder if it's something that has to do with Episode 9. I cannot help but wonder if they are slowly planting seeds for something that's going to happen in Episode 9. If Kylo goes to Vader's castle or something along those lines, I cannot wait to see because they're not doing all this for nothing. They're just not doing it for nothing. They're leading up to something. What do you think?
I'm kind of at a loss for words because obviously, I mean, I don't read all this stuff to the extent that you do. A lot of what I know about, especially the canon material, is from hearsay and what you tell me about and like the little excerpts that you read to me. And just from getting the articles in the news that drops and stuff like that. But, I mean, I'm kind of at a loss for words. Because, I mean, like I feel like there's a plan.
Yeah.
And they have to be leading to something. But at the same time, like...
Because this castle didn't exist in canon until Rogue One. Now, he had a castle. Vader had a castle in the EU, but it was on the planet Vajun. And it was, like, raining acid and stuff. But he did have a castle, but it was on a different planet.
But that was in the EU.
But in canon, it being on Mustafar
so.
Makes way more sense.
Oh, yeah, it does.
You know,
considering that's where he became Vader.
Right, and then that window, where him and Krennic were talking in Rogue One, that window and that room looks out on the spot where Obi-Wan finished, "I have the high ground," you know, that's where it ended.
You were my brother, Anakin.
You were my brother, Anakin, yeah. No, that's where all of that happened. So, and it's, in the novel it talked about, they just did that to fuel his rage.
Yeah.
He did that so that he could constantly fuel his rage. So but yeah, we'll let you guys know what Star Wars Adventures Tales from Vader's Castle actually is like. With it being IDW, I'm skeptic to see exactly how spooky it can get, being geared towards kids, but we'll see. Time will tell. We'll let you guys know. So I think that pretty much does it for the upcoming canon. So what do you say we jump into some mailbag questions?
Okay.
Before we get into them, if you guys are wanting to get a question on the Star Wars Canon podcast, you can simply email it to us at starwarscanonlibrary@gmail.com. I'll go through them each week and pick out a few. If you're a Patreon supporter, odds are you'll get your question picked a little... Oh, you all right?
Yeah.
Look like you're choking. But if you're a Patreon supporter, odds are you'll get the odds of your question getting picked are a lot higher. So definitely make sure to check out the Patreon page as well. It's just patreon.com/StarWarsCanonLibrary. But at the end of the show, I think we've got 4 mailbag questions picked out. At the end of these 4 mailbag questions, we're going to be taking some live questions from the chat board. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and start dropping those in the chat. We'll go through and pick a few of those out at the end of the episode and let you guys know our thoughts on them. So, babe, what do we have first for the mailbag questions?
For the first question we have is a Patreon supporter. So, Jamie Holbeche writes in, and she says, would you like to see a 16 or 18 rated Star Wars shows or movies where it could possibly get quite violent or dark? Like in Aftermath Empire's End when Mr. Bones completely cuts off the limbs of Norra's captors clean off. I think Benioff and Weiss could potentially make a 16 or 18 rated saga of movies on the Old Republic. Just wondered, since there are shows made for kids such as Resistance and Forces of Destiny, but there aren't necessarily things that are just adult. But adults could still watch the kid shows, and the kids can't really watch the adult shows. I don't know. Just curious what you think.
We were talking about this the other day, because right now, well, I was, until Assassin's Creed Odyssey came out, I was playing Knights of the Old Republic again.
Yeah.
And that game focuses a lot on melee combat, because it ties back to the Old Republic thing.
Yeah.
It focuses a lot on melee combat with vibroblades, swords, stuff like that, because of the energy shields, right, that were being used during that time. I don't know if you know about that part of it or not. Because of the energy shields that were developed, of course, that's all EU. That's Legends. Yeah. It's not actually canon. But if they went back and did something like that in Old Republic where they focused a lot more on melee combat with blades, hell yeah, make it happen. Because the only time we've seen blood in Star Wars from an actual wound, like a serious wound, we've seen blood, you know, bloody lips, bloody faces, you know, cuts on the face. But the only really massive amount of blood that we've seen is when Obi-Wan cuts off Panda Baba's arm in Episode 4, which makes no sense because the saber should have cauterized the wound, right? So, but that's really the only serious amount of blood that we've seen. If they went back and did something like that, I'm totally for it. As long as they do it in a story where the story's not made around making it gory. Like Deadpool, it's made around making it gory.
Yeah.
And making it over the top, kind of dismembering, right? Right. As long as you do it in a way where the gore supports the story and not the story supports the gore, I'm cool with it. But I don't know if it's necessary. I think I'm not entirely sure that it's necessary. Because we've gotten some seriously dark stuff. I mean, look at the end of Rogue One with the Vader hallway scene.
Oh, yeah.
That was terrifying.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was terrified of Vader. And then as I grew up, I'm like, well, you know, they pussified him in the prequels, right? And then when I saw Rogue One again, or for the first time, and that Vader hallway scene popped up, which none of us ever saw coming.
Yeah, nobody ever expected that.
My jaw hit the floor and my heart was racing. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, especially when he lifts the guy up with the Force up into the ceiling and then walks under him and without looking back just swipes back and cuts him in half and then drops him. Like, I could feel my heart literally boom, boom, boom in my chest. I want more of that. I want Star Wars horror. I really, really do. And I think it could actually work. But the only problem you would have with that is I think you'd be limiting your audience. If you did like a rated R Star Wars film, you're going to have kids standing on each other's shoulders in trench coats trying to get in to see this stuff like they did with Deadpool. So I don't know if it's necessary. I think it could work, though. I really think it could.
Okay, well, I don't think it's necessary like you were saying, but I do think it could work. So going back to something that we covered earlier in the episode, The Mandalorian.
Oh, that could get bloody.
I think that could get bloody real quick. I think it could get dirty real quick. And I think it's absolutely necessary in that because of the time period being a survival situation. And just generally covering all topics in that. No, just absolutely. It's there. That's where it's at. So, I mean, everything about that, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're introducing a new character, and I don't even know how to explain it.
It could get really, really
yeah.
I mean, especially out on the fringes away from the New Republic and stuff, like, it could get really, really bloody. If they did it, if they wanted to do it, I think they could do it. I'm not sure they could do it on the Disney streaming service, with it being, you know,
well, if you
I guess it's not really a kids streaming service because Disney's not just for kids, right? But could they do something like that on the streaming service?
I think they could, because if you get down to the brass tacks of Disney and where a lot of their stories come from, like the Grimm's fairy tales and things like that, those are all actually stories that they've twisted and concocted into making them all happy fairy tale endings, which in reality, they're not.
Right.
Like in Snow White, she was poisoned by a witch who gave her an apple.
Right.
Sleeping Beauty was put to sleep for the rest of her life until her prince come to kiss her and wake her up by the prick of her finger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in different situations like that. So, I mean, yeah, Disney could do something like that. And how is the Disney streaming service any different than, like, Netflix or Hulu or whatever, where you can have a passcode or a specialized account set up for your kids? Right. Where the kids can go on there and do that. So, yeah, I think they could do that.
Yeah, you could. Because we're going to have Rebels on there. We're going to have Clone Wars on there. We're going to have Resistance on there. You're going to have plenty of stuff on there for the kids. Why can't you put something on there for... Yeah, I'd love to see The Mandalorian get bloodier than hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it on, man. I like I said, I'm not entirely sure it's necessary, but I'd love to see it. I think it could work, so...
I know you would love to see it, because I know you also have this, like, real weird, sick, twisted fantasy of Quentin Tarantino directing
a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Just over-the-top blood spray. Just that ridiculous, you can tell there's a hose hooked up behind him, just spraying.
Some kind of, like, fancy classical music playing in the background.
I love it.
And just have, like...
have a guy whistling in the background.
Yeah, and someone just pop up in the corner. Oh, Mace Windu. Does he look like a bitch?
Say what again? No, I think that could work. I'd love to see some serious blood in Star Wars, but I hope that answered your question, Jamie. What do you guys think? Do you think blood and gore and maybe a rated R Star Wars could work somewhere down the road? Let us know, man. I'd love to hear what you guys thought. What's next on our mailbag questions?
Ron Hempberg wrote in, and he says, do you think we'll see Obi-Wan Kenobi in Episode 9? Or maybe Luke's Force Ghost? I know Mark Hamill's been signed on to return, so do you think it'll be a flashback scene or a ghost? Love to hear your opinion.
Well, we were talking about this at the comic store tonight.
We were.
Because I got an email from somebody saying, hey, since Mark Hamill is going to be in Episode 9, does that mean they're retconning everything that happened in Episode 8 and just going to pretend like it never happened? No. No, that's not how.
No.
You're talking about a universe that has Force Ghosts. There's no definitive end to life. Like, you're going to see Mark Hamill as a Force Ghost and or flashback. It's gonna be
definitely an and
either,
or because there's a possibility of both there.
Yeah, and or it's oh man, for the flashback, I want to see Snoke corrupting Ben. I want to see Snoke corrupting Ben and Luke. I want to see Luke and Snoke in the same room in a flashback, face to face, confronting each other. I want to see that, like a battle for Ben's soul. I want to see that, but then obviously he's gonna pop up as a Force Ghost. Right at the end, Rey is going to be like in the middle of getting her ass kicked, right? And then all of a sudden she's going to think, oh God, all hope is lost. Then all of a sudden Luke's going to be like, Rey. And his ghost is going to come in and he's going to do some like motivational speech, you know.
He's just going to say, use the Force,
use the Force, Rey.
Let
go, Rey. You will go to the Dagobah system. No, that's going to be something like that. Luke's coming back as a Force Ghost. We all know that.
Absolutely.
And there could be a flashback scene because Episode 8 had our first flashback scene in Star Wars ever.
Yeah.
Our first ever flashback. So, yeah, you could definitely do something like that.
No?
And well, her vision in 7 wasn't necessarily a flashback. It was a vision. So, there's a lot of stuff you have to cover in Episode 9. A lot of history. You have a lot of questions you have to answer in Episode 9.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions you have to answer. And you have to wrap it up.
Yeah.
The entire saga, right? So, as far as Obi-Wan being in it, I'm not entirely sure we're going to see that. Because I really thought we were going to get it in 8. And instead we got Yoda, which I'm not complaining. I love the Yoda scene.
Honestly, I think it was better that we had Yoda instead of Obi-Wan. Because Obi-Wan started Luke on his path to becoming a Jedi, like,
Yoda finished
whatever. Yoda is the one who actually trained him on his path to becoming a Jedi.
Right.
So with that being said, it made absolute 100% that Yoda is the one that came to him.
For the process of making films, it's easier to do a puppet than it is to replicate Alec Guinness. You know what I mean? So it makes sense that they use Yoda.
But all that aside, it made sense that it was Yoda.
Yoda had, Luke had more of a relationship with Ben just because Ben helped him. You know, he was the first guy that really taught him about his father and his first connection, to his father.
Not only that, but Ben was also the weird old guy that lived on the planet where he always, where he grew up. That's where he knew his family.
Right.
And when he started name dropping his dad and all this stuff like that.
Right.
It's like, oh, what? So, yeah, he had that connection with him.
Because Luke knew about Obi-Wan, but he just referred to him as he's kind of a strange old hermit.
Yeah.
So he knew about Obi-Wan. But do we think we'll see him in 9? I don't think so, because now with Luke gone, Luke is the only other person in the galaxy that Obi-Wan had any reason to come back to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Rey, not so much. Obi-Wan had, that we know of, unless by some weird chance they come out and say, oh, Rey's a Kenobi, which would piss me off at this point. But
yeah.
There's no reason Obi-Wan would have to come back at all. Luke makes sense. Luke coming back makes all the sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yoda maybe making an appearance? Maybe. That one's way less likely than Luke.
Yeah, I think if Yoda come back and talk to Rey... I think we got our final
Yoda, yeah.
Yeah, I think if Yoda come back and spoke with Rey, he would, freak her the hell out.
See, well, because when the first trailer came out for Last Jedi, and it starts with her throwing her hand down going, and that cave was behind her, right? It was out of context at the time. We didn't know that she had just had that kind of touch with the dark side and Luke was trained. Yeah. We didn't know that. Honest to God, in my head, I honestly thought she had just walked into this cave with these books, and all of a sudden there's Luke with a ghost of a guy and a ghost of a little green Muppet, and she's like, and couldn't take it and turned around and ran out the door and was like, what the hell is going on around here?
That's so
I really thought that was something that was going to happen, but it turned out that didn't obviously happen. But I don't think Obi-Wan's going to pop up in 9 at all.
I really don't either.
I would love to see an Anakin. Because depending on the story you do with Rey, Anakin might have something to do with that. Because there's a lot of rumors that she's the new chosen one, like Anakin was, and you know, and stuff like that. But I wouldn't mind saying, because I think it'd be cool to see an Anakin ghost, especially, and it would give them a chance to redeem Hayden Christensen's Anakin. Because I know a lot of people dog on him because of his Anakin, and it's not his fault. It was George Lucas that directed. Give him another shot. Give him the Force ghost of Anakin again. Let him pop up. It's not going to be Obi-Wan. I'm almost willing to take that to the bank. But Anakin, possibility. Luke is obviously happening.
I don't think we're
Yoda,
gonna get,
probably
no.
not. Anakin,
if there's a Force ghost at all, it's gonna be Luke.
It'll be
nobody
Luke,
else. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think? Do you think any other Force ghosts are going to pop up in Episode 9? Because Episode 9 is supposed to bring together the entire saga. The entire, all Episode 1 through 9. So you could get a Qui-Gon. You could get, it's not going to, why would, Qui-Gon could appear and Rey could be like, who the hell are you? That's what's going to happen with Obi-Wan. He's going to pop up and she's like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
You know, so what do you guys think? What Force ghosts do you think are going to pop up in Episode 9? Do you think it's just going to be Luke? Do you think we'll get more? Let us know. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. What's next with our mailbag questions?
Danny Boroff writes in, and he says, "Hey, Brian, love the podcast. Since the solo novel just came out, what is the next novel slated for release? The novels are my favorite form of new canon. The comics are fun, but I don't feel like anything really major happens in them. Can't wait for Episode 9.
Thanks for the question, Danny. You're right. First off, the comics, they are fun. Not a whole lot. Nothing really galaxy-shattering happens in any of them. They're just kind of filling in holes at this point with the comics. But the next novel coming out is Queen's Shadow by E.K. Johnston. It's going to be a young adult kind of novel. It's a Padme story between Episodes 1 and 2. Her stepping down as queen and becoming senator, being asked to stay on as senator. That's a story I'm really looking forward to. I'm actually really, really excited about that one. The one after that is the one I'm really excited for. It comes out in April, and that's Claudia Gray's Master and Apprentice. We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, which is kind of based off the short story from a certain point of view that Claudia Gray wrote called Master and Apprentice, of Qui-Gon's ghost coming to Obi-Wan during, Episode 4 when Luke's running off to find Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. So I'm really excited for that one. And then, like we said earlier, they just announced the Alphabet Squadron. So I don't know if they had a date yet for Alphabet Squadron, but E.K. Johnston's book comes out March, I want to say 9th. I think it's March 9th.
I don't know. The only thing I'm not looking forward to when you read that one, that's the Queen Shadow one, right? Yeah. The only thing I'm not looking forward to when you read that one is how many times I'm going to hear you go, ugh, from how many times you have to read Misa.
Oh, God, no. That guy, that SOB better not be in that book.
Well, how can you not? He's right there with Padme. They're like a package deal.
Jesus Christ.
Aren't they?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I hate to say it. It's going to happen.
He wasn't there during Thrawn Alliances with the Padme stuff. Of course, she was off on her own mission. I'm not a big fan of Padme. I'm really not that big of a fan of Padme.
Honestly, it's kind of hard to be.
She started as a strong female character and then ended up as a throwaway, she's lost the will to live kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she didn't really have a whole lot to do in Episode 3, except carry a baby. Like, that sounds so sexist.
2 babies.
2 babies, sorry. That sounds so sexist to say, but that's really all that she did in Episode 3. She was a plot device. That's all she was. And Padme's character was supposed to be more than that. I mean, look at Padme in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
She was a strong female character that was she wasn't a damsel in distress.
No.
But I feel like they watered her character down so much for Episode 3. Because even in Episode 2, she was wielding a blaster, going crazy. Obviously, you can't do that when you're pregnant with twins, but still, that's all she was. She was just a plot device for Anakin. That was it. So, but I am looking forward to the book. I'm assuming it's going to be some kind of political thriller. It's essentially her learning how to get out from underneath everybody telling her, oh, well, she used to be a queen. You got to treat her differently. You're just trying to get out from under that shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So hence the title, Queen Shadow. So I'm really excited about it. But that's the next one coming out. And I told Kirsty, too. I mean, well, not counting, and I forgot about this when we recorded last week, the Smuggler's Guide book.
Yeah. Which
is coming out at the end of this month. It's kind of a journal that I guess somebody dug out of a lockbox on the Falcon with different stories from different people around the galaxy. And I think it said there was
not different people, but different smugglers. That's why it's called Smuggler's Guide.
Because there was one for Han, Lando I think had one, Dryden Voss, Maz Kanata, and Hondo. Hondo Ohnaka had a story in there.
Yeah.
So 5 stories, and right now the book is like $60 some odd. It was $100.
Yeah.
It was $100, and hell, you can go back and listen to the podcast that came out that we recorded right after that story broke about that book, and even I was like, "Are you serious, Disney? Jesus Christ!" Like, because it was just, I felt like my wallet was getting raped. You know,
we didn't even think about buying it yet.
And it was already, I could already feel my wallet getting $100, lighter. So they knocked the price down to $60 some odd. It's still more than a PlayStation 4 game, but still, it's something, and it's hardback now instead of leatherback. So I would have rather had the leatherback. I think it would have looked cooler.
I would have paid that money.
I would have paid the money for a leatherback,
yeah.
but man, that's coming out. If you want to count that as a novel, that's still canon. Those stories are still canon.
Yeah, those stories are canon.
But I'll probably get it just to have it as a reference book up there, because I think it'd be really cool to have it up there.
You're gonna read through it though.
I'll bust through it in a day.
Yeah.
So, but that's the next one. But the next actual novel is Queen's Shadow, coming out in March. So thanks for the question, brother. And we got one last mailbag question before you read this one. Remember, guys, if you want a question answered right here on the podcast, go ahead and drop it in the live chat. And we will get to that here in just a few minutes. So what do we got for the final mailbag question over there, babe?
We've got Trevor Larson writes in, and he says, "First off, I am someone who respects that different people have different opinions and different people like different things. I'm cool with that. That being said, I know you guys like the new canon coming out from Disney. I believe it's far from perfect. Personally, I love the EU front to back. I don't understand why Disney thought it was a good idea to make another super weapon. It might as well have been a new Death Star. And then in The Last Jedi, they have a battering ram based off of the Death Star. Do you think J.J. Abrams will put another Starkiller base at 9? Or do you think the days of super weapons in Star Wars are over? Love to hear your thoughts. Just know that whether I agree with you or not, you've picked up a new follower, and may the Force be with you."
First off, I wish everybody had the opinion or the outlook as Trevor, and not just on Star Wars. I mean, in general, in the world. I wish to God people had your opinion, your outlook on stuff. Absolutely love it. You've gained my respect right off the bat. Absolutely awesome. Okay, so to get into your question, let's see here. Let's just break this apart piece by piece. First off, the new canon coming out by Disney. I've never claimed that it was perfect. I've never claimed that it was perfect. Hell, 3 novels into it, I was already worrying about the new canon.
Yeah.
There's some serious pieces of crap in the new canon. You've got Heir to the Jedi, the 3PO comic,
yep,
the
Chewie
Chewie comic, which was just god awful. Hell, Most Wanted and Last Shot, in my opinion, weren't that great. And an argument could be made for the first Aftermath novel, but I'm not gonna really start beef with that one because it's not all bad. But the EU had some stinkers in it too. The EU had some serious stuff in it that was like, oh, God, are you serious? You know, and the one thing everybody goes to first is Chewie's death, being crushed by a moon, you know, and yeah, it sounds kind of cool on paper when you read it. It's just it's
one of those, that sounded better in my head.
Yeah, exactly, you know, and it's just, there were some serious pieces of crap in the EU. If we had Richard J. on here right now, he's read the entire EU, I think, minus one novel. Crucible, the very last one, and he'll tell you there's some serious pieces of crap in there. But you can't sit here and say that the new Disney canon is messed up because of so many super weapons, because the EU had a crap load of super weapons in it too. Hell, they built a literal third Death Star.
Yeah.
They literally built a Death Star 3, called it Death Star 3. You had the Planet Devastators in the Dark Empire comic. You had Darksaber, the Hutt's version of the Death Star. It was just the ion cannon. You know, that's all it was. It was just the big cylinder that looked like a lightsaber hilt. You had that. I mean, there were so many things in the EU that were still super weapons. You know, so do I think they're going to put another Starkiller in 9? No, that's not going to happen. There's no way in hell they're going to build another Starkiller. That's something I think they were working on well back into prequel era. Because, I mean, you read the novel Catalyst. I'm firmly, and I think somebody commented on last week's episode also. Actually, I think it was Jamie Holbeche commented last week saying she still thinks that Starkiller Base was the planet Ilum.
Yeah.
Where the Jedi got their kyber crystals. Which there's a lot pointing towards that. There is a lot that points towards that. I mean, even in the Catalyst novel, Lyra goes off on a mission and finds them hollowing out the planet, which the planet had the same topographical features. It was still a snowy forest planet like Ilum was, like Starkiller was. And there was even a slip somewhere, I think in one of the reference books that they've come out with, where there's 2 different maps of the Star Wars galaxy, and they're both official, and they both have one planet in the same spot, and one of them says Ilum and one of them says Starkiller Base. And I don't know if anybody's ever caught on to that. Definitely go look that up, because there's definitely that discrepancy there where it's the same planet but with different labels. Or it didn't say Starkiller Base, it said the origin of Starkiller Base is what it said. So definitely got to check that one out. You definitely got to go online and do your research and see if that actually is true, because it's really starting to look like it.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough about Starkiller Base. The battering ram, right, that Finn said was Death Star tech. I don't see a problem with that, because at the time in Star Wars, in canon, that was the most technologically advanced piece of equipment ever built. Ever. In canon, right? You can't talk about like the Starforge and KOTOR or anything. In canon, that is the most advanced piece of technology there's been. Why wouldn't you base other technology off of it? We have the microchip. We have rubber tires that we have on everything, Yeah. Everything we have nowadays has a microchip. Everything. Why wouldn't you use that technology in other pieces of technology? Especially a battering ram, a laser battering ram. Why wouldn't you miniaturize a planet destroyer to destroy a door? That
makes absolute sense to me.
It makes absolute sense.
Make less work. Think smarter, not harder.
Yeah, we have this technology. Why don't we miniaturize it and use it for this? So hell, they were able to build a Starkiller Base. Why can't they? Would it have been better if they said miniaturized Starkiller tech? Would it made more sense than no? It was miniaturized Death Star tech. So that's the only way it makes sense. No, and like I said, I don't think they're going to put a Starkiller in Episode 9. I don't see that happening at all. I think 9's going to be its own thing, and I think JJ's smarter than that, because they don't have time to be focusing on it. And do I think the time of super weapons are over? I think so. I think they're done with super weapons at this point. I hope they're done with super weapons at this point.
I think that the time for super weapons during the Skywalker lineage and that story being told, yeah. But how can you, they're trying to wrap up that story, so I don't think that you can really, wrap it up by having, a super weapon and just, obliterate the whole entire universe?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, you're not gonna get an Infinity Gauntlet in Star Wars.
No, it's not gonna be like a snap of the fingers and it's just all gone.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen.
No, that doesn't happen, because there's no way that it can be that advanced by that point. No way.
Yeah.
It takes time and patience, to become one with the Force. Just ask Shrewd.
Right. Well, I'm wondering, though, back to the Starkiller thing for a second. I'm wondering if we're going to get an answer to that in Resistance. Because it's the rise of the First Order. It's them coming out with all their stuff. Do you think we're going to get a reference to Ilum being Starkiller Base? Do you think that's something they would drop in a kid's show?
That's a very good possibility, honestly, because even though it's a kid's show...
It's right there in that time period.
Even with it being a kid's show, the parents and the adults are going to be sitting there watching that
with their children going...
And it's a good opportunity to kind of, name drop. Oh, here we go.
Or could they talk about it in The Mandalorian? Could there be some sideways, backwards reference of them going, well, there's this group of people out there around Ilum that's been emptied out and looks like they're starting some big construction project. You could hear some background thing in that. That's going to be geared more toward the adults, where they're going to go, holy crap. Because you have to drop certain references in this to show that it's still connected to the rest of the galaxy. Every movie that's come out so far has had other little references to other things that have happened.
Yeah.
Like in Solo, you killed Aura Singh. Well, the Fall killed her. I just pushed her. I want to know that story. How did Beckett kill Aura Singh?
Yeah.
That shows you that everything is still connected. These people still run into each other. And hell, even Val said in Solo, you get Bosk to help us with this. Not 2 morons. She name dropped Bosk too. So, there's different things that there's going to have to be Easter eggs in The Mandalorian for us Star Wars fans that connect everything back together going, I see what you did there.
Okay, yeah, in The Mandalorian, but why couldn't there be in Resistance?
In Resistance,
even
they're
for
probably
us
going
adults.
to.
I see stuff like that all the time. Okay, I'm super nerdy, and I watch a lot of these kids shows that they have Netflix originals and stuff. I just finished watching something called The Hollow.
Right.
And it was a pretty cool one, and it ended really strangely. And I've seen some other shows that are out there too, and I'm like, wow, this seemed like it was more geared towards like kids and stuff. But by the time I finished the show or whatever that season, I'm like, holy crap, this is really good. Like, it's animated, so you think it's geared for kids, but then you're like, wow, this was actually like adult.
Right.
You know.
I think Resistance is going to surprise a lot of people. I wasn't a fan after that first trailer, but after the second one, I'm excited, you know. And I think that seems to be the general consensus among Star Wars fans at this point. It's one of those things where like, oh crap, okay, are they actually doing this right? Is this not what we thought it was going to be, you know? So, and I know the Mandalorian's getting a lot of people excited too. So, I hope that answers your question, Trevor. Let us know, guys, what you think. You think they're ever going to do another Death Star, another Starkiller base? You think those days are over? I think they're over. You think they're over?
Laser beams.
Laser beams. Yeah, no, they're over. So, thank you very much, guys, for the mailbag questions. We're going to go over to the live chat here and take a couple of y'all's questions. If you guys have any questions about Star Wars canon, anything like that, go ahead and drop them in there. I've been kind of watching it throughout the stream. That's kind of why I've
been in and out
of hearing what Kirsty's saying over there. But let's see here. I'm just going to scroll back up as far as my live chat will let me right now, which is not all the way up to the top, obviously. So I'm sorry if you guys put in a question or a comment or something before this point and I can't see it. If that's the case, go ahead and drop it again, and we'll get to it here in a few minutes. So let's see here. Let's go back, and let's see. Nick Gold says, I'm nervous that Episode 9 might not reach $1 billion. Do you think that's a possibility? Because, I mean, Episode 8 pissed off a lot of people.
Right.
Do you think there's going to be some kind of boycott on Episode 9, especially with Kathleen Kennedy's contract being extended? Do you think that's going to hurt Star Wars Episode 9 to the point where it doesn't cross the $1 billion mark? Because the only one that hasn't so far is Solo. It made like 400 million worldwide.
Ouch.
Ouch. I know that hurts you in your soul, doesn't it?
It really does, because I absolutely adored Solo. I mean, it's really hard to guesstimate how that's going to do in the box office, because we have fans that are out there being like, oh, I'm just so pissed because so far it hasn't turned out the way I want it to, so I'm not going to go out there and give it a chance. Well, how can you expect it to do any good unless you go out there and give it a chance?
Right.
So, I mean...
Well, because I even saw the exact words used for Solo before it came out, saying, The Last Jedi sucked, this has to change, Solo's going to be the quote-unquote sacrificial lamb. That's the one we're going to boycott to show them we're not happy with the direction they're going. That's not the way that works.
No.
If you're not happy with Episode 8, you boycott Episode 9. You don't boycott the next one coming out that's nothing to do with Last Jedi.
Either way, I mean, okay, so... It's a possibility, yeah, because of what happened with Solo. But honestly, it's the final.
This is the big
cap.
finale.
It's gonna wrap up the story. I really don't see how the fans aren't gonna go out there.
Even
and
the
see
haters are gonna want to go out and see how this is gonna end. Yeah.
Scratching their chin, waiting in line, holding their ticket, jumping up and down with joy.
How many people do you think? Well, I'm not gonna watch that, and then they secretly go out and watch it.
They're gonna be dragging their kids, dragging their wives.
Yeah, this is Star Wars. Yeah, no, it's gonna happen. So, it might not reach $1 billion. It's a possibility. But I think as long as they market it right, I think it has a shot.
And this comes out next year in December?
Comes out a year it comes out 15 months.
Yeah, so next year in December.
Yeah.
So I mean, when do you think we'll start seeing more trailers come out for it?
Celebration Chicago. Cuz last week we had a mailbag question, when will the title and trailer drop, and which will we get first? The title's going to be first. We'll probably get it around Christmas time, since we're not getting a film. They'll probably say, well, since you don't get a movie, here's the title for Episode 9. I see that happening. But the trailer won't be until Celebration. We'll get the first trailer at Celebration.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be.
That's typically how they've done it, yeah.
So, because last year they dropped the title for Episode 8 in January.
Yeah.
I remember that because I was in Arkansas for Grandpa's funeral when they dropped it, and I did a little phone video real quick outside of my thoughts on it. So, they're going to drop that title around Christmas. It's going to be probably Christmas morning. Hey guys, Merry Christmas. Here you go. Here's the title for episode 9.
Best Christmas present ever!
No, best Christmas present ever was still episode 7. So, let's see here. Going on down. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to read a couple of y'all's comments too. An anonymous guy who comments is his name. It's kind of cool. He says, Kathleen Kennedy is not perfect, but she does not deserve this amount of hate. Same fuse for JJ and Ryan. No, you're right. I don't think she deserves nearly that much hate.
I don't think so either.
She's got an insane body of work. Why else would she have gotten that Irvin G? Oh crap! I can't even think of the name of the award now. That honorary Oscar that she got.
Yeah.
Why would she have gotten that? Think about all the movies she's worked on. Jaws, all of the old Indiana Jones films, Gremlins, Back to the Future. Like, she's done all of these serious big franchises. Jurassic Park, all the old Jurassic Park. She deserves it, you know. And I said it a couple weeks ago. Star Wars fans are a special bunch. They're very volatile. You throw in one unknown variable, and the whole thing could explode. It's a volatile concoction where if you shake it the wrong way, boom. You know, and that's the only reason. That's the only reason, you know. I mean, how many people? I mean, obviously they don't have as big of a cult following as Star Wars does, but fans of Back to the Future or Jurassic Park or Indiana Jones, how do you feel? Like, granted, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was trash. But I wasn't sitting there screaming saying this is the end of Indiana Jones. I'll never watch Indiana Jones again. They've ruined it. You know, I've still got the original 3 movies I can watch.
And you're excited that they're coming out with a new one.
I am excited for 5. I really am. So, but yeah, you're right. They don't deserve nearly the amount of hate that they're getting. So let's...
I mean, we're all people. We're all human. We all make mistakes. Not saying that they have made mistakes, but we all put all our shoes on the same way. We all put our clothes on the same way, you know. So they're trying.
Right.
And we have to at least give them that. So.
An anonymous guy who comments also said X, A, B, Y, and Y wing. He's talking about the Y. I think one of them is supposed to be U wing. Yeah. But those are the 5 ships.
Yeah.
From Alphabet Squad. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't notice that.
Nick Gold said, I think the title of the... You didn't either. I don't want to hear it. Nick Gold says...
You didn't even tell me that. I didn't even know that part.
Okay, whatever. But you have plausible deniability.
Exactly.
Nick Gold says, I think the title of the book is ridiculously stupid, but I love the concept and I can't wait to read it.
Which one is that?
Alphabet Squad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, titles don't mean anything. You can have the dumbest title for the greatest story, and it's not going to affect the story at all. Let's see here. Nick Gold also says the Master and Apprentice cover and the Queen's Shadow cover are beautiful. I have to show them to you. I'm going to have to show them to you. Let's see here. Going on through here, Nick Gold says Boba Fett is overrated. Mr. Pete Channel, the Mr. Pete Channel is halfway to the big time, is the name of his channel. Okay. He says, is Cad Bane dead?
Actually, when you brought that up, I was kind of thinking about that, because if he hasn't been brought back up in canon or anything like that, you kind of have to wonder about it.
Well, we had the little unfinished, unaired episodes of Clone Wars where Boba Fett went up against Cad Bane in a gunfight.
Okay, but is that considered canon?
I don't know, because they were unfinished episodes. They never aired. I don't know if they actually consider that canon or not, because in that fight, I think Boba won, but they both popped off shots, and that's where the dent in Boba Fett's helmet came from. That's where Cad Bane shot.
Oh.
Was right there. So I don't know if that's canon or not. I don't know. They've never come out and said that unfinished scenes are canon, so I have no idea. Kyler Knowles says, I don't think he's dead. Star Wars Wiki says he isn't. There's never been any official death of Cad Bane. So
I don't know.
It's a possibility.
I'm still really reluctant to believe anything on Wiki, so
I'm hoping to God. Yeah, well, that's true. I'm still really hoping that oh man, I'm hoping to God he pops up. Nick Gold says, I'm currently reading the Solo novel. Absolutely great novel.
Yeah.
You need to read it too.
I've been really thinking about it, but there's like so many up there that you're like, you really need to read this.
You do. Kyler Knowles hit me with a blindside question during the broadcast, and that's why I was like, well, I don't know if you saw me make it. I had to look it up, and he's right, because I did not know this until he brought this up, and I looked it up, and he's completely right. He says, "Are you sad that the new Vader run is coming to an end?" This is the best comic run ever in Star Wars.
Yeah,
and they're ending it
me.
at issue 25, just like the other Vader run. Yeah, and it's the last issue comes out December 19th.
Why didn't our comic shop guys
tell us about that?
Lying
sacks. Man,
they didn't lie. They just didn't tell us.
I'm sad. I'm no. I'm doing the Franken Vader. No, this is the absolute. This is the gold standard for Star Wars comics. This Vader run. You have got to read these.
I mean, every time you talk about it,
it is the gold effing standard. They are. Every single issue is absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. I mean, hell, even in the annual, you got stuff like Tarkin trying to hunt Vader down.
Yeah.
And Vader killed a creature that can mask itself from like infrared cameras and stuff, and ripped its wing off and used it as a cape to hide from infrared sensors from Tarkin and his group of hunters. Like, this is the most insane Vader stuff I've ever seen. And it's phenomenal. I'm not making this. You can't make this crap up. You cannot. It's absolutely. It pisses me off to no end. Kyler, you tore a hole in my soul today, dude. I'm just letting you know you have torn a hole in my heart.
As long as it wasn't me.
As long as it wasn't you. Let's see here. Kyler says he hasn't read it yet, but he heard it's phenomenal. So yeah, definitely go pick up the new Vader. And you know, actually, if you haven't started reading it yet at this point, I would wait until like early next year when all the TPBs come out for this run, and just sit down and binge them. Because you're not going to want to start and then get to a point where you have to wait for the next issue to come out. That's where I'm at right now, and I hate myself for it.
Yeah, every time you pick one up, by the time you're done, you will not stop talking. You're like, oh my god, babe, this happened, and oh my god, babe, that happened.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely, God, that new Vader run is so good. Kyler Knowles also says, looking forward to Queen's Shadow, Master and Apprentice, and Alphabet Squad. Next year is going to be busy.
Yeah.
You're telling me, bud. I've got 6 months until those novels start coming out, so I'm going to try to hammer out some EU stuff. I told Richard Jay I was going to start working on some EU stuff, and I'm going to work my way through it chronologically. I know this is the Canon podcast and the Canon library, but why not pay homage to what's come before? And you know, and like, because I haven't read all the EU stuff.
Yeah.
I've read a good handful of it, but I've nowhere near read all of it. It doesn't hurt knowing that stuff, so that when certain names get dropped, you're like, oh, that's a reference from, you know, this novel, or that character was in that, but you know, so
the only the only reason why you haven't done it before is because I always talk you out of it, because I get worried that you'll like start meshing it together. Because so far that's actually quite a bit of canon that's come out just since like what, 2012, 2014,
yeah.
So I mean that's actually quite a bit of content. All of that's up there on our shelf, plus the long box of all the comics that we have.
Right.
And some of the games that's dropped out and things like that too. And
there's a lot.
I mean, that's a lot. That's just canon.
I know, because I talk to people and they say, well, there's not nearly as much.
Oh yeah, there is.
No, there's not as much.
There's not as much. No.
But it's on its way. It's getting there quick. Yeah. So
they're doing it appropriately.
Right.
Through time, so that way you're not like books just thrown at your face like, oh my god, how do I do this?
Right.
Like, what? How do I read? What is life? Like, is this real life?
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ethan Dupes. Man, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I am no good with last names. It's Dupps. Dupes. I'm assuming Dupes. Ethan says, who is more intimidating, Maul or Thrawn?
Ooh.
That's a good question, because they're both different versions of intimidating. They're different kinds of intimidating.
Oh, that's a really good question.
That's good.
Because they're both really good baddies.
I don't know who's more intimidating. I'm going to say Maul.
At first glance, Maul, but the one that will blindside you
is Thrawn.
And screw you up in the end is Thrawn.
Well, you know, actually, no, I'm changing. I'm going to say Thrawn, because calm, cool, collected anger is scarier than raging anger.
But Maul isn't always
right
like a raging anger.
He has been more calm, cool, and collected, hasn't he? I don't know, something about Thrawn, because
Thrawn just knows how to get in your head.
Okay, he says intimidating, not scary. Intimidating, Thrawn, if he's looking at you, you know he's looking through you. You know he can see everything about you at just a glance.
Yeah, because he knows how to get in your head.
That's more intimidating.
Because
that's
of his method, yeah.
I'm going to say Thrawn. especially after
That's why
reading
I'm
both
like,
Thrawn.
ooh.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Thrawn. Kyler says, would you like a novel, possibly a trilogy, where Sloane and Thrawn start the First Order? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Admiral Sloane? Hell yeah. Absolutely. Actually, she made it to Grand Admiral. Grand Admiral Ray Sloane.
Yeah.
Which she hasn't popped up in any canon material recently. For a while there, she was in a lot of stuff. She was cropping up quite a bit. And all of a sudden, she's disappeared. The last thing I think she was in was Empire's End. I think it was, because they all retreated out into the unknown regions, which I think they went out there to get the First Order. Yeah, I'd absolutely love to see Sloane and Thrawn get together. And you know what? And I think we're actually going to get that after Episode 9 comes out.
Has there been anything about Thrawn?
What do you mean?
In like the new...
No.
In this new era, like this
in the new saga?
Trilogy?
No. In the new trilogy, no. There hasn't been anything.
Nothing anywhere at all hinting to him. So, like, the last mention of Thrawn is, like, what, classic or even before that?
You mean chronologically?
Like, in the time period.
The last time you hear anything about Thrawn chronologically through the timeline is Rebels Season 4.
So, classic time period.
Classic period. So, you haven't seen that yet.
During, like, the Rebellion. Yeah, and no, I haven't seen that. End of Rebels. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, end of Rebels. You haven't seen that. We got it. But that's the last time chronologically he's been brought up. So
technically we don't know exactly what happened with Thrawn.
We don't. That's the big thing right now. Nobody knows what happened. Oh, man. I can't.
That would be
God,
really cool,
I can't even talk
though.
about it right now because I'm stressing so bad because I'm afraid I'm going to drop some spoiler for you. I'm not going to ruin it for you. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to ruin it for you on air. If I'm going to ruin it for you, yeah, okay, it's not the droid you're looking for. Let's see here. Kyler Knowles says, sorry I spoiled it for you. No, you didn't spoil anything for it yet. Let's see. I brought it up last week. But I would make a novel.
I think he was talking about spoiling the end of the Vader run.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Oh, maybe, possibly. Kyler Knowles also says, I brought it up last week, but I would make a novel out of the Lost 20 and particularly Count Dooku. He did bring that up during the live Q&A that we did last weekend before. And I'm of the mindset, I think a cool idea for the Lost 20 would be a set of 21 shot comics, each one off of a person of the Lost 20.
As long as it's the Lost 21 shot comics
series, right? And you could do it
for the 21st.
And you could do it over a serious amount of time too. That's 20 issues.
No, did you hear what I said?
Oh yeah, Ahsoka would have been the 21st.
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah,
though? As long as it's the Lost 21 shot issues.
Right.
Play on words there.
Yeah, I see what you
did. And
did.
Ahsoka's included because
you get mad at me for dad jokes.
Whatever.
I see what you're talking about. Kyler says the Last Jedi novelization, she gets a reference. Talking about Ray Sloane, which he's right. She did. That was the last time she was mentioned. It was just a quick little, he's right, it was in there. Ethan says, curious on this one, Yoda versus Anakin Skywalker, Revenge of the Sith. Who would win? Man, I'm going to say Yoda. Because Obi-Wan and Yoda were not smart when they decided to go after Palpatine and Anakin. Yoda should have went to Anakin, and Obi-Wan should have went to Palpatine. I truly, or they both should have tag teamed Anakin and then went and tag teamed the Emperor. They could have won that way, but Obi-Wan had that weak spot for Anakin. He couldn't finish the job. He couldn't be the one. He left him for dead. He couldn't be the one to actually kill Anakin. Yoda would have. Yoda would have done it. He wouldn't have left him for dead. So yeah. I'm gonna. But Yoda did get his ass kicked by Palpatine because I threw the Senate at him. The whole Senate. No, man, I don't know. I really think they went about that wrong. Yoda and Obi-Wan should have tag team, but if it's Yoda versus Anakin, I'm going to say Yoda.
Okay, first of all, they had to do it the way they did it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the story we have.
Right, obviously, right.
Second of all, if it's strictly Anakin versus Yoda, Yoda wins, hands down.
Yeah, because even in episode 2, Obi-Wan tells, even in episode 2,
Anakin is full of anger, hatred, everything, and just like throws his whole body into it. Yoda's tiny.
And he's all over the place.
Yes. So yeah, he's gonna win hands down.
And even in episode 2, Obi-Wan told Anakin, if you focused on your lightsaber skills as much as you did your flying, you would rival Master Yoda as a swordsman. And Anakin said, I thought I already did. And Obi-Wan had that look like, only in your mind, my very young apprentice.
Yeah.
that was a prelude to what we were going to get later in the movie with Yoda. But I think Yoda would win. I really think so. I think Yoda would have kicked Anakin's ass from the get-go.
Yeah.
I really do. Kyler Knowles says Thrawn is referenced in Empire's End. Was he? I didn't catch that reference. Of course, it was a year ago that I read that book. I didn't think Thrawn was mentioned by name in Empire's End. I could be wrong. I might have just missed it. It's entirely possible. I'm going to be rereading these novels again, though, when we're doing our novel discussions for the Patreon supporters. So, yeah, I'll probably catch that next time we play. He says, this is a theory of mine, but I think it would be symbolic if the final battle of Episode 9 is at Jakku. The fall of the Empire and the First Order in the same place would be super cool. Thoughts? I think it'd be kind of cool. There's more to Jakku than what we know. Jakku is more of an important planet than what they're letting on. Because the Emperor had an observatory there. You know, I mean, even in Empire's End, they're about to destroy the freaking planet. It's the whole planet shaking, about to crack in half with these force objects that got dropped into the core of it. And then, you know, they were able to stop it. There's more going on in Jakku. The last battle between the Rebellion and the Empire wasn't on Jakku by chance. It was made that way specifically. So I think that'd be really cool to go back and actually see what is so important about Jakku. You know, and maybe even get that answer. That's why everybody wants to go back to Jakku.
Oh my god.
You know, so, I mean, I think it'd be really cool. Yeah, I think we need to see Jakku again.
Why does everybody want to go back to Jakku?
I think we need to see that. I think we need that. He's right.
I like that.
Why does everybody want to go back to Jakku? So, but anyway, we've been going for an hour and a half. It's been a hell of an episode with you guys so far. Babe, have you had a blast with this episode? I know you're going to say yes.
Well, obviously. I think it's more fun when we do it live.
You think it's more live?
I do.
I think so, too. I think it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Let us know real quick.
Yeah, if you guys like this better than you do just the recording and uploading, let us know, because this does save me a lot of time.
It saves us both a lot of time.
In case you don't know, here's the way I used to do it. Kyler Knowles says, I agree with live. He says live.
I think it gives you guys an opportunity to interact with us more hands-on, but it also gives us a chance to get right down to the last minute with news updates.
Right, in case anything breaks while we're talking.
Plus, if it breaks while we're talking, and we can get the Patreon supporters and some other questions that have been emailed in covered, but then also cover the viewers.
We're good.
Yeah,
because the way I used to do this, just so you guys know, a little behind-the-scenes thing here real quick. The way I used to do this, and it was a pain in the ass, to be completely honest. I would sit down with Kirsty, or, you know, when we still had Chris on, and, you know, or with you, I would have to record Kirsty's audio separate from mine with Audacity. I would record mine with Cool Edit Pro and record hers with Audacity. I would save them both as WAV files, drop them into a video editor instead of an audio editor, a video editor, and I would have to sync them up bit by bit. And because she was using my old Snowball mic instead of the Rode mic that we just got tonight, her mic was picking up my audio in the background, so I had to cut her audio out while I was talking, and I had to cut her audio out, or cut my audio out while she was talking. So I had to sit there and edit the entire podcast minute by minute by minute, go through bit by bit,
and
it took hours.
And like every 20-minute clip takes like an hour.
Yeah,
of
no,
editing.
it takes forever to get through it, and you know, in the audio processing. This way, now we've got the soundboard, we've got 2 great condenser mics.
Yeah,
I think this works better. I really do. I think it works a lot better. And now we've got, you know, our own theme music thanks to Brooke Thompson.
Yep.
He's a composer that contacted me about getting some music put together for the podcast. If you guys weren't here right when we started the podcast, go back and listen to the beginning of it. He did an amazing opening score for us, and I think next week we're going to have the outro. Yeah. If not next week, the week after, because he sent us the final proof, and we were like, oh, hell yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
and he said he was going to finalize it.
Guy.
It's absolutely great guy. So we've got some original music coming and stuff like that, but I think it works better this way. And it'll still be available on StarWarsCanonPodcast.com. It'll still be on Spotify. It'll still be on iTunes. It'll just be on there after we do the live show, because you can't go live on Spotify, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
But yeah, this will be up on iTunes and Spotify also. So thank you to everybody who tuned in to watch. Thank you to everybody who dropped a comment and a question for us. Love to do this with you guys again, man. Hey, and guys, as always, this is the Star Wars Canon Podcast. Make sure to visit StarWarsCanonPodcast.com. Visit the Facebook page, Star Wars Canon Library, to make sure you are up to date with every time we're going to be doing a live Q&A, which I think the next one we're going to be doing, we're going to be giving away a copy of Solo. the novelization of Solo. So make sure to tune in for that. And if you guys want a question on the Star Wars Canon podcast, make sure to email it to us at starwarscanonlibrary@gmail.com. Make sure to follow us on Twitter also at SWCanonLibrary. And make sure to go check out our Patreon page if you'd like to show a little bit of support there. We'd sure appreciate it. It's just patreon.com/StarWarsCanonLibrary. The links of all those will be in the description below. So guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. This show wouldn't be anything without you guys. And I guess we'll catch you next time. Anything else to add, babe?
May the Force be with you.
There it is. May the Force be with you guys. Take care. Have a good night. God bless.